Ladies and gentlemen, we're only a couple months away from the NBA draft, and let me make myself clear. I don't know what team's going to be number one. It might be the Bulls, might be the Knicks. There's a couple other teams in the mix that could be the number one, have the number one pick, right? Because the new NBA lottery system has, what am I doing with my hands? The new NBA lottery system has pretty much taken down that. So it used to be if you had the worst record in the NBA, you got a 25% chance of getting the number one record. They've taken that down. So the top three teams with the worst records, they all have like a 15 and 17%, something like that, along the lines of that, in that mid-teens chance of getting the number one pick. And if you got the fourth, fifth, or sixth worst record, you're right around that, right around that 10% line to get the number one pick. So it's trying to incentivize teams to not tank so damn much, right? You don't want teams out there just tanking. Because the Cavs, every year that they don't have LeBron, they're one of the three worst teams if you think about it historically. So you want to stop all this young talent to go into Cleveland and, the Knicks. You want to balance this thing out so a team like the Memphis Grizzlies or the New Orleans Pelicans can somehow, some way get top tier talent, because they need help too. But they're gonna, with the system the way it was last year, they're gonna always be picking at the bottom of the lottery, which kind of isn't fair, because they play good enough to at least be competitive night in, night out, but they obviously still need help. So they kind of adjusted the system a little bit to make it more fair, and I like it. Now, whoever gets Zion Williamson, you're getting the top of the line talent. And let me make this clear. He will be the number one pick. And I love RJ Barrett and Ja Morant. Both could be all-stars in the NBA. I think Ja's ready to make an impact in the league next year. And I think RJ Barrett might take 2 to 3 years to figure it out, similar to James Harden. And once he does figure it out, he's going to be a man-child. But let's make it clear. I don't care what your team is, what your needs are. Zion Williamson is the number one pick in the 2019 NBA draft. Period. I don't know if you watched any basketball last night, but Zion made his return. This is last, essentially 6 games with a knee injury after his foot literally came through some Paul Georges that he was wearing as the Duke Blue Devils were taking on North Carolina. A lot of speculation. Was Zion Williamson going to return? He said if you thought he wasn't going to return and play with his boys, it's quote-unquote not smart. So this dude wants to play. Did you see Zion's stat line last night? So let me just put it in perspective. He finished with 29 points on 13 for 13 shooting, 14 rebounds, and 5 steals. Let me read his first half stat line. Let me break it down a little further. In the first half, he had 15 points on 7 for 7 from the field, with 9 rebounds and 5 steals. Didn't even get a steal in the second half of the game against Syracuse. A dominating performance from Zion. This dude is unreal. Let me tell you why he's the number one pick in the NBA draft. You might get a better talent in the foreseeable future in Ja Morant. Long term, RJ Barrett might be a better player in the NBA because he can shoot the ball. He's going to be an elite scorer, and he's going to be an elite playmaker one day down the line. But on sheer hype alone, and I've tried making the comparisons to Zion. I went from Josh Smith to Larry Johnson, right? To certain LeBron James, even I've thought about a little bit. And I've tried to make this comparison to who he reminds me of. And I think if anybody, it's Larry Johnson more than anybody. But even then, there is a uniqueness about this man's power and speed that we just have not seen ever in the NBA. Now, I believe he's going to have to come down 10, 20 pounds. And by the way, last night, his free throw percentage, it was pretty bad. He was 2 for 9 from the free throw line. He's going to have to clean that up as well, because they just going to put his big butt on the line. But this dude is so dominant at the 280 pounds right now. And his speed is so rare with that combination of power. And the amount of butts he's going to put in seats. Because the amount of dunks this dude is going to throw down at the next level. The hype that's going to come around this kid's name. He is the #1 pick, and it's not even a question. I don't care what your team needs are. You just have to do it. Even if you don't want him and you got to trade down to like 3, he has to be the #1 pick. Like, let's say the Bulls get the #1 pick and for some odd reason they don't want Zion. You gotta draft him #1, and then a team needs to trade up to you, and they give you a future first-round pick as well. Protected top 5. Kind of how Luka went at 3 for the Mavs. The Hawks drafted him, and then they traded with the Mavs 3 to 5, and then now the Hawks have the potential of getting Dallas's pick this year, depending on where Dallas lines up as a protected pick. That's what needs to happen with Zion. This has to be the #1 pick in the NBA draft next year. He is that great, and he is a franchise-changing player. Those don't come around that often, and not just on the court, right? I would put him up there with Derrick Rose, like with the level of hype coming in. Anthony Davis' game is much more matured than Zion, but even Anthony Davis didn't come into the NBA with this amount of hype. Michael Gildress, Harrison Barnes, all these guys that were #1 players, like they didn't come in the NBA with the amount of hype that this dude is coming in with. He was an Instagram sensation, but he's more than that. He was an Instagram sensation coming in from Duke. A lot of people said this dude just dunking over let's just call it what it is, a lot of private school white kids. He's a little bit better than that. And that performance last night versus Syracuse, not a bad team, by the way. That shows you what this guy is capable of. And I'm a Tennessee Vol. That's my school. That's where I went. Let's make it clear. If Duke gets on that 1 line and my Vols are #2 seed, I don't want to be nowhere near that bracket that has to play him. I'm out. I came from nothing, but I want everything God has for me. I interview celebrities. I talk sports. I still represent the culture.
I got the kids. They are now tuned in.
Yo, we locked in right now, Mr.
Mr.Taliaferro.
Shout out to Mr. Taliaferro.
You're watching Mr.Taliaferro TV.
Mr. Taliaferro TV. Here with the Triple B's. You can't do nothing but win.